And for more on this, I'm being joined by international correspondent Afia Hagen. Afia, you are at the site of one of yesterday's anti-racism, anti-fascism marches. What is the feeling like? What is the feeling just being there?
Well, it's a lot calmer this evening than it was perhaps yesterday evening. Yesterday evening, this market behind me was completely boarded up because people were afraid of what potentially could happen later on in the evening. And just a bit further up the road is where one of the anti-racist, anti-fascist marches took place. Now, yesterday the weather was a bit different as well, a bit sunnier, and people thought perhaps that might encourage more people to come out. And it did encourage people to come out. It encouraged anti-racism and anti-fascism protesters to come out in their thousands. So today, it is a different atmosphere. Now, getting people to stop and talk about what they feel about what's happening, what they have experienced, is actually proving to be quite difficult because there's still a level of fear in this community, in communities like this around London that have a lot of people from different backgrounds. Although there was anti-racist and anti-fascist marches, there's still a lot of fear. The weekend is coming, the weather's going to be better, and historically we know that in London, when the weather heats up and there's already a bit of trouble, often riots can start. So yes, calmer than it was yesterday evening, but there is still an underlying sense of tension.
And I have to ask about the arrest. What's the latest on arrest and government reaction to the protests?
So what we are seeing is people being charged very, very quickly. So today we had 2 people who got combined sentences of about 5 years for various charges. Those charges ranged from racially aggravated assault to assault on a police officer. And people are being put through the system very quickly. So arrests occurred last week on Tuesday. 8-9 days later, you have people who have been charged and sent to prison for those offences. Now, Keir Starmer is having a third Cobra meeting today that will be reflecting on last night and looking ahead to the weekend and seeing what police need to have in place up and down the country, not just here in London, but what forces need to be deployed up and down the country to make sure that we can keep the peace and keep the order. But what we are seeing, number one, is policing being stretched. Police leave is cancelled. Up to 6,000 officers were mobilised yesterday. And number two, that when arrests are made, people are being processed through the system very, very quickly.
And I just have to ask, because we're pretty much out of time, we're pressed for time, but what can we expect from the UK over the weekend? We're going into the weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Will there be more protests in terms of anti-racism, anti-fascism protests?
There will be over the weekend. There is a huge anti-racism and anti-fascist protest planned by Stand Up to Racism. They are taking place across the country. It's every town, every city. That's what it's been billed as. Taking place on Saturday all across the country. If the far right turn up to sort of agitate the anti-racist, anti-fascist protests, we don't know yet, but we do know that Stand Up to Racism organising those protests taking place across the UK, every town, every city on Saturday.
Well, Afia, many thanks for doing this. We'd also appreciate you for coming on. And that's Afia Hagen, international correspondent, live from London. They're giving us update on the anti-racism protests, a response to the far-right riots that we saw from this week.